Hello everyone, I'm Nathan Loynes. In this presentation, we're going to explore the idea of understanding and developing your intelligence. Most of the material can be found within Stella Cottrell's 2019 work, The Study Skills Handbook 5th edition, and the material I'm drawing from occurs on pages 64 to 70. My aims today are to introduce two key ideas. First of all, there's no such thing as a single intelligence, although popularly or in common sense terms we'll be led to believe that there are people that are intelligent and unintelligent, a false dichotomy, and the idea that intelligence is not a fixed thing, but it's fluid, it's plastic, and it can be developed over time. And why I'm doing this is that I want to help you understand your own potential and ability to boost your own understanding in yourself and to boost the confidence that you have in your own intelligence. Because it's there, you just might not realize that it is. So Cottrell makes a quotation that intelligence is often seen as a fixed trait, but it's much more complex and dynamic than that. Many of our theories of intelligence originated over 100 years ago, when we had limited ways to understand and explore the concept. Consequently, our understanding of intelligence was quite basic. However, those ideas have persisted over time. So Cottrell, drawing on the work of others, acknowledges that intelligence encompasses various abilities and is not simply limited to academic performance, although within our culture we tend to limit intelligence to only being about demonstrating academic performance, and that's a real shame. The myth of fixed intelligence. So this traditional view, as I said, from the turn of the century and beyond, really, that intelligence is a fixed trait, is what you're born with, is what you have. And this idea permeated throughout the school system in this country, the UK, up until relatively recently, but it still exists. And what this leads to is that if children are labelled very early on in their development as being not intelligent or less academic or being more orientated to more practical tasks or things like that, they come to absorb that into their self-concept. And so they then reject any opportunities to strengthen their other intelligences that might be there latently. So this, in contrast to this fixed view of intelligence, in recent years we've come to understand intelligence as being more flexible, that it can develop over time. And actually, it's the experiences that we are exposed to that contribute towards developing our intelligence, a nurture, if you like, rather than a nature or a genetic quotient with which we are born with. And that's contributed to this idea that actually intelligence is much more complex, multifaceted, and dynamic than our initial limited, basic, simplistic understandings of intelligence that began over 100 years ago. One of the key ideas to foster this more complex understanding was posited by Howard Gardner in his groundbreaking work from 1993 on multiple intelligences. Once we start to look out for different types of intelligences, we can start to see them expressed in lots of diverse and different ways. And we can see how different individuals, perhaps unaware of their own intelligences, can be very, very skillful and very, very intelligent in various different contexts. And Gardner identifies these different types of intelligence as being linguistic, logical, mathematical, spatial, musical, bodily kinesthetic, interpersonal, intrapersonal, and naturalistic. Now, essentially, if you've watched some of the other videos, we'll come to recognize that education and particularly university education prioritizes the linguistic form of intelligence, one's ability to use words and language, and the logical mathematical version of intelligence, the ability to use abstracted concepts and explore highly bonded relationships between ideas. It's not too important that we get bogged down with that at the moment. The key take home point here is that intelligence is much more broad and diverse than those traditional rigid, narrow views of intelligence, which were predominantly linguistic and logical mathematical. So here are some definitions of those different types of intelligence. Skipping on to spatial intelligence, it's our ability to visualize and manipulate objects. Musical intelligence is what it says on the can, our sensitivity to sounds, rhythms, and music. Bodily kinesthetic is skill in physical activities, so you might say that people skilled in sports have this. Interpersonal intelligence is the understanding and ability to interact with others, our social abilities, if you like, or sociableness. Intrapersonal intelligence, which is our self-awareness and our ability to be introspective and reflect, and naturalistic intelligence, which is our connectedness and understanding with nature and patterns. There are probably many more than this, but I think a real strength of this theory is to demonstrate the breadth of intelligence, and it's not being limited to simply linguistic or logical, mathematical, more traditional forms. I'm not going to go through each one of those in detail. You can read the various characteristics of each of Gardner's intelligence types in the Cottrell text, which, if you're a student on this course, I will be providing for you. But I thought I'd take the example of intrapersonal and naturalistic intelligence and demonstrate to you how Gardner characterizes these and what we can do to develop them. I've chosen these because I think they're quite relevant to the field in which we work, an ecological context of working reflectively and intrapersonally with children and families and trying to support them. So the characteristic of intrapersonal intelligence is to have a deep self-awareness and a natural inclination towards reflective thinking. How we might develop this kind of intelligence is by journaling, meditation, and self-assessment exercises. Naturalistic intelligence is characterized by an understanding of nature and an interest in conservation and the environment. And how we might develop this connectedness and intelligence is through spending time in nature, studying plants, animals, participating in environmental activities. So a key take-home point here is that these different types of intelligences that we have can be developed. Cottrell states that intelligence is not static, it can be nurtured and developed. And Cottrell goes on to give the example of Suzuki, the Violin Talent Education Program, and practical applications and success stories in order to demonstrate the development of intelligence over time. And you can read those for yourself, but for the purpose of brevity, I'm going to move on. So we're coming to see that intelligence can develop over time, and what contributes towards that development, what nurtures that development? Well, it's the environment. Vygotsky emphasized the importance of learning taking place in a social context. And so supportive social environments enhance intelligence development. For example, and hopefully your university experience here is a supportive and social experience. Cottrell makes the point that opportunities and environment play a crucial role in shaping intelligence. So this is in contrast to historical theories on what we were born with, our nature determines our intelligence. That does play a part, but we can't discount the importance of the environment and supportive learning environments. So Cottrell identifies some practical tips to develop our intelligence. Because the concept is that intelligence is not fixed, it's not static, and it's not narrow, it's diverse. In order to boost our intelligences, we need to take part in diverse activities, different activities, in order to challenge our own different types of intelligences. So if we want to boost our linguistic intelligence, we might try to challenge that by undertaking more reading. If we're trying to boost our kinesthetic intelligence, we might take part rather in more sports, etc. Also key to this, and pulling on Vygotsky's concept that intelligence is boosted socially, it's important to surround yourself with positive and encouraging people. So, as well as those things, what else might we do? Well, there are other practical tips, such as making use of resources, the libraries, online courses, workshops, seminars, class discussions, and also acknowledge and emphasize within yourself that learning and self-improvement is a continuous process. We're probably never going to get there, but it shouldn't stop us working towards it. And this moves into this second key theoretical idea, which you may be familiar, the work of Carol Dweck, where she promotes the need to have a growth mindset, a belief that things can change, you can learn things, and so on and so on. And there are some practical strategies detailed in Cottrell's book, but you can look at Carol Dweck as well. She's on YouTube and within other places at the things that you can do to develop a growth mindset as opposed to having a fixed mindset. So as we move towards the end of this presentation, I want to leave you with the message that a lot of the challenge that we can have when it comes to our learning, our own self-concept of intelligence, and our own perceived and misconceptions around our ability to deal with academic concepts, theory, and so on, is self-doubt. Some of the common causes of self-doubt are detailed within Cottrell's work, and also some of the strategies that you might use to overcome self-doubt. But the first step, and this nice quotation by Cottrell that I'm going to sort of leave you with, is the first step is believing in your own ability to grow is the first step in overcoming self-doubt. So in conclusion, intelligence is multifaceted. It's complex, but it can be developed. What we're born with is not kind of what we go out with. Secondly, I've tried to encourage you to explore and develop and first come to understand your own unique intelligences more broadly than the typical way intelligence was likely discussed in the school that you went to. You know, there were very smart kids, there were sort of middling smart kids, and there were kids that we said weren't smart. That relates to this idea of intelligence being fixed, and it's something that is or isn't. Finally, believe in your potential to grow and succeed. Thanks for listening.